On today's edition of Cronkite Sports Live, Sun Devil football returns to the base of the Rocky Mountains for the first time in 3 years for their penultimate week of the regular season and their final road trip. We have all the analysis to break down their incredible victory last Saturday against West Virginia.
And on the hardwood, ASU men's basketball had a rough loss to number 19 Gonzaga, but bounced back in a big way with back-to-back wins. The first of those against Georgia State Monday night, and then last night against the University of Hawaii. Now they're preparing to get their Maui Wowie on.
Absolutely. And Sun Devil volleyball looking for back-to-back Big 12 championships tonight when they head to Houston to take on the Cougars. All that and so much more as Cronkite Sports Live starts right now. It's the most thankful time of the year. We are very thankful here in Studio 6, but we hope you're thankful watching at home as we welcome you to the penultimate episode of Season 23 of Cronkite Sports Live. My name is Max Cepeda, and once again, for the second time in 3 weeks, is the one and only Jacob Brooks, the Sacramento native himself. And Jacob, we've had a lot of things happen these last couple of weeks. It's felt like no time has passed, but also so much time has passed as well.
I know, Zippy. When we get to this back end of the semester, everything's kind of a blur. Football hitting that end of the season, basketball going on at the same time, double dipping on certain days. But hey, we're back on the desk together once again.
We absolutely were. Late night men's hoops game last night in Hawaii, but how about that game? We were both in the building last Saturday at Mountain America Stadium when Arizona State, a thrilling victory over West Virginia. Let's kick out the highlights. Was expecting possibly some rain in the forecast against the Mountaineers, but was mostly partly cloudy skies on a beautiful day in Tempe. We kicked things off though late in the first. West Virginia already up 3-0, looking to extend the lead, but Keith Abney, a massive fourth down stop in the red zone, continuing to extend his spectacular season. And Jeff Sims on the very next ASU possession in the second quarter, finding Shimon Mateer for the third consecutive game in the end zone. And then how about this? Derek Eusebio back in the end zone for the first time since the Territorial Cup last year, and it's already 13-3 Sun Devils. But what's this? A fake PAT from Jesus Gomez to Cameron Hopewell, wide open in the end zone. It's now 15-3 Sun Devils. But on the very next West Virginia drive, one play, 75 yards. True freshman quarterback Scotty Fox Jr. finds Jeff Weimer. He's gone to the house, and everyone in Mount America Stadium is stunned. It's 15-10. How would ASU respond? Well, quite emphatically. They would drive down the field in a 33-yard touchdown to Raleigh Brown. His first through the air this season would make it 22-10 in favor of the Maroon and Gold at the break. So, what would the second half have in store? Turns out a lot of chaos. Mostly in the third quarter, not really so much. Mostly some defensive masterclass of performances led by Jordan Crook on that massive fourth down stop you see on your screen on 4th and 2 in the red zone. But very next Mountaineers drive, they would respond, make it 22-17 with a handoff to Curtis Jones Jr. But in the fourth, some craziness. First, a Justin Watley sack inside of West Virginia's own 20 to set them far back, and you would think settle out the game. The Cleveland native obviously honoring LeBron James with that celebration. But on the very next possession, very next play, I should say, 3rd and 27 at their own 10, 90 yards for Sincere Bowers all the way to the house, and the 85-90% crowd at Mountain America Stadium is stunned because the Mountaineers now have the lead. It's 23-22. ASU, though, would drive down the other end of the field, convert a field goal with Jesus Gomez, and it's now 25-23. And with under 2 minutes, Mountaineers looking to extend the game and possibly take the lead. Keith Abney there to officially put the rubber stamp on this one with the game-winning interception on homecoming day. 25-23 is the final. Sun Devils are now 7-3, still in the run for a Big 12 championship appearance once again. And here's Kenny Dillingham with an emphatic post-game statement.
I was never leaving, Greg. Contrary to the betrayal article, I was never leaving. I never said I was leaving. This is home. But you know, you do have to continue to push. And my job running a program is to push and push and push until you can't push anymore.
After sealing a 25-23 comeback win over West Virginia late on Saturday, Kenny Dillingham was more than his usual jovial self. He sat down at his post-game press conference in front of media and fans alike tuning in and said the 3 words that Arizona State faithful had wanted to hear for months: I'm not leaving. Of course, Arizona State is Dillingham's alma mater, But when 3 high-profile jobs open up, featuring 2 programs that went to the college football playoff semifinals and Florida, people are always going to wonder what those programs are willing to spend to bring in a coach of Dillingham's caliber. And moreover, what those programs can spend to bring in the players that Dillingham might want. These schools, 2 in the SEC and 1 in the Big Ten, have boasted a dynamic in which they have more funding than really anybody else around them. But it wasn't always supposed to be that way, especially not after in June, when a House versus NCAA settlement dictated that $2.8 billion be paid out to players who felt as though they were cheated of the money they might have earned, and also opened up a pathway for programs to pay their athletes directly through revenue sharing. While most schools were allocated roughly $20 million to their athletes, a lot of schools chose to spend 75% of that $20 million on their football program. Yet, in SEC schools, in prominent Big Ten schools, that number exceeded that 75% because billionaire donors found a way to funnel NIL money around the powers that were supposed to stop them and into the pockets of the players directly, funding the athletes under the table and keeping still alive the power dynamics that this settlement was meant to eliminate. As smaller programs noticed this, they started to play by the old adage, if you can't beat them, join them. Now, that's what made Dillingham's words after West Virginia so important. Arizona State, trying to play fair, was operating at a deficit compared to its competition in terms of how much it could spend on its roster. Dillingham had questions of Graham Rossini and President Michael Quero about how much money the school was willing to invest in its programs. Yet, after weeks of back and forth and a crucial Friday afternoon meeting before that game against West Virginia, Dillingham got a commitment from not only millionaire donors, but Quero himself, that put it in the plainest terms possible for Dillingham to go, sit down, address the faithful of the school he attended, and say proudly, with his chest out, that he is here to stay.
With a crucial win over West Virginia in the rearview mirror, a second straight Big 12 title game appearance could still be in the road ahead for Arizona State football. So with that in mind, let's welcome in our WCSM football reporter, Dominic Vasella. Dom, ASU has been the master of the close games so far this season. Every single conference win the ASU has been a one-possession game in the final score. Why is that? What's made ASU so good in those moments?
Well, Jacob, I have one word, 4 letters, great. Kenny Dillingham said in his presser Monday that if he had an NIL deal with a restaurant, his menu item would be the cardiac burger, because this team just gives him so many heart attacks. Since 2024, this team is 10-1 when in points games decided between 7 points or less. They've trailed in the fourth quarter in 4 of their last 5 conference victories. This team just refuses to give up. Even with their top 2 offensive producers out in Sam Levitt and Jordan Tyson, they find ways to win. Jeff Sims has come into the game. He had that game-winning drive last week against West Virginia, set up Jesus Gomez for the game-winning field goal, but the offense still has a lot to prove. They haven't scored more than 30 against a Power 4 conference opponent yet. Still need to see more from them because the defense is having to pick up a lot of the slack. But at this point in the season, it's survive and advance. You got to do what you got to do to win, and if the defense keeps on picking up the slack the way that they have, ASU should be set.
Well, as Dom mentioned, injuries, especially on the offensive side of the ball, have defined the season for ASU. Starting quarterback Sam Levitt out for the season. Star wide receiver Jordan Tyson has missed multiple weeks with a hamstring injury. That's put a lot of pressure on the defense. A lot of guys have had to step up, but none almost, if any, as much as Keith Abney.
Yeah, I mean, he's been the consistent one throughout this Sun Devils secondary. Xavier Alford was ruled out for the year just a few weeks ago, and Abney has really stepped up for ASU this season. He had that pick last week to put the game on ice, and that was his 2nd interception of the year to go with 2 forced fumbles, 4 created turnovers this season. He's now 2nd in the Big 12 with 11 pass breakups, and if you look at the advanced stats, 83.3 PFF defensive grade. That's 4th in the nation among corners that have played 80% or more of snaps. Not to mention 300+ snaps, hasn't given up a touchdown. And his physique, a little questionable, 6 foot flat, $180, but is doing things despite his undersizement, and he's shaping up to be a day 2 draft pick come the spring.
Thank you, Dom, for your time and analysis. We appreciate it. Another crucial game for ASU's Big 12 title hopes is on tap for tomorrow on the road against Colorado with kickoff set for 6 p.m.
The Sun Devils and their final road opponent of the season, the Colorado Buffaloes, crossed paths for nearly 15 years after the Buffs joined the Pac-12 in 2011. But since their last meeting at the base of the Rocky Mountains, so much has changed seismically since these two programs switched leagues together. For more, here's our Ethan Ignatowski with another edition of The Vault.
The 2022 season was the last time Arizona State football made the trip to Boulder to play Colorado. The Sun Devils emerged victorious that night, beating the Buffaloes 42-34, but the year as a whole was one that both programs are glad is now just a memory. The two squads were bottom feeders in the Pac-12 when they met in late October, and were both led by interim head coaches, Sean Aguano for ASU and Mike Sanford for the Buffs, after Herm Edwards and Carl Jarrell were fired before mid-season. As for the rosters, they both looked extremely different that night than to how they do now, but that doesn't mean there weren't familiar faces. Future Sun Devil superstar wide receiver Jordan Tyson was wearing Colorado's colors as a true freshman and found the end zone twice against his future team. However, it was ASU's redshirt junior quarterback, Trenton Bourguet, who was the star that night. Bourguet threw for 435 yards and 3 touchdowns on a 74.4% completion percentage to improve the Sun Devils to 3-5 and send the Buffs to 1-7. Since then, both programs have entered an era of stability. ASU hired Oregon offensive coordinator Kenny Dillingham to lead his alma mater from 2023 onward, while Colorado hired Coach Prime, Deion Sanders. Both coaches quickly turned around their programs and experienced success in 2024, with Dillingham taking the Sun Devils to a Big 12 championship and a college football playoff appearance, and Prime leading the Buffs to their first 9-win season since 2016. Even with both teams experiencing trials and tribulations in 2025, the programs are in much better spots than the last time they met in Boulder. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Ethan Ignatowski.
Sun Devil men's basketball's loss to Gonzaga last Friday was a demoralizing one to say the least. The team was admittedly deflated, and Georgia State could have been a trap game for the Sun Devils as they were down in the first half. However, a 20-1 second half run led by Anthony Pig Johnson's 13 second half points off the bench propelled ASU to the 75-62 Monday night victory. Post-game media availability was cut short as the Sun Devils had a 5 a.m. flight to Maui to catch the next morning for their matchup against the University of Hawaii that took place last night. That game was another one where ASU was once again down early, but rallied back to get the late victory, 83-76. Scottsdale native Bryce Ford led the way with 20 points as ASU's offense had a solid showing against one of the best mid-major defenses in the country. Now they're extending their stay in their Aloha State to get their Maui Wowie on in the Maui Invitational Tournament, with ASU's first matchup being against the University of Texas on Monday night.
Now, while Bobby's Devils slowly got back on track over the course of the week, both on Monday against Georgia State and last night in Hawaii, the amount of holes that have been exposed in their last two games on the floor have certainly raised questions about how high the ceiling could really be for the men on the hardwood. For more on those questions and what exactly needs to change, we welcome to Studio 6 once again, our Reese Goodall.
Ahead of this season, questions have surrounded what this ASU men's basketball team would be in Big 12 conference play. While we're only 4 games into the season, the matchup against national powerhouse Gonzaga presented some early signs of what this team, mainly senior guard Mo Odom, would look like in the Big 12. Against Gonzaga, Odom finished with 12 points on 4 of 15 shooting, with all 4 makes coming from 3. Looking at some of the issues from that Gonzaga game, this play was commonplace with Odom. In transition, early in the shot clock, instead of getting his team into a set, Odom forces a 3 for one of his 11 misses on the night. Now here's another play where Odom misses a shot as Pig Johnson clears out and Alan McCabe hands it off to Odom. Odom steps inside to take a long contested 2, which he misses, where he could have taken a step to the right for a 3. Now here's another play where Odom's size made the difference. He isn't able to see over the 2 Gonzaga defenders on the pick and roll. He can't get it to Masamba Diop. He has to improvise, pass it to Alan McCabe for an inefficient look at 3, which he airballs. Now here's the same thing where Odom just can't make the pass. He's missing the easy passes like this one to Bryce Ford. But against Georgia State, he had somewhat of a bounce-back game, scoring 24 points. You can see he takes advantage of the drop coverage from Georgia State. But against Gonzaga, that just didn't work as Gonzaga stunted him and was all over Odom. Ultimately, Odom needs to find a way to showcase his scoring ability and make the plays against the bigger and better teams for ASU to have a chance to succeed in Big 12 play.
Year 11 of the Bobby Hurley era was preceded by an offseason unlike any in the decade prior, with 14 scholarship newcomers coming into Tempe. The downside of that, nobody knew who the quote-unquote killer would be on the squad. Let's check in with our Casey Smith, who's going to be doing his best Sherlock Holmes impression as he tries to get to the bottom of this mystery.
Throughout DFA, there's been whispers of a killer. One player who by season's end will prove to be the face of ASU men's hoops. With all sorts of weapons and locations across the court, we might just have a clue for who the killer player is for ASU men's basketball. Our first suspect is Lo Odom. Odom was recently seen in the perimeter with his weapon of choice, the three-point shot. Odom has lit it up from the outside, raining down threes to lead the Sun Devils in points so far. Pairing that shot with his deadly sense of passing, Odom may have what it takes to be ASU's main man. The next suspect is Masamba Ja. He's been most often spotted in the paint with his favorite weapon, the dunk. The 7'1" center has been relentless at the rim as his combination of size and skill has allowed him to punish the paint on rolls to the rack. The last suspect on the list is Mr. Anthony Pig Johnson with his lethal drive on the wing. The former Mid-South Conference Player of the Year was deadly during his time at the University of Cumberland. He led all of NAIA in points last season and has proven to be electric in this one. He's punished defenses with his speed downhill and shown that pigs can fly. Odom with the three, Jop with the dunk, Johnson with the drive. Any of the three could end up being the killer for ASU this year. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Casey Smith.
Head coach J.J. Van Niel has been building something special with Sun Devil volleyball in Tempe. ASU won the Big 12 last year in its inaugural year in the conference, but had a ton of roster turnover heading into this season. Despite that, this year's squad hasn't missed a beat, with Colby Neal leading the Big 12 in blocks and Noemi Glover being top 10 in the conference in hitting percentage, blocks, kills, and points. The Sun Devils currently sit atop the conference once again with a 14-1 record and have the opportunity to clinch the conference once again if they can win on the road tonight against the University of Houston.
The Devils travel from one space city to another tonight with back-to-back Big 12 titles in sight. We bring in our volleyball reporter Lexi Kranian. And Lexi, the Devils are 9th in the country, 3rd in the RPI, and could genuinely put themselves into a position to be a top 2 seed this year in the NCAA tournament. So where should Sun Devil fans expect this team to land come Selection Day?
Yeah, Arizona State has put themselves in a really great spot right now. The team is in Houston tonight, looking to capture their 2nd Big 12 title in a row. And with up to 8 Big 12 teams that could appear in the NCAA tournament, ASU could be seeing some familiar faces in the tournament in December. ASU is currently projected as one of 4 #1 seeds, and it is still up in the air who they will face in the first round of the tournament, with there still being matches left in the regular season. Now, seeds are subject to change, but ASU likely looks like they'll finish as a top seed, giving them hosting rights for the first 2 rounds of the tournament, and possibly regionals as well, given they advance.
And that would be obviously very different from what we saw last year, Lexi. For Sun Devil fans, you may remember, J.J. Van Niel had his team in a great spot entering the tournament last year as a 5 seed, but an unexpected second-round loss at home to Texas A&M curb-stopped any deep run. So, to that end, what teams could potentially pose a threat on their side of the bracket, though, this year?
A big one this year for them is Wisconsin. Senior Mimi Collier has reached 20-plus kills 8 times this season, making for a strong Badgers offense, which they have shown they can prove continuously over and over again on high-stakes matches. Wisconsin won the NCAA tournament back in 2021, defeating Nebraska, and they have made one Final Four appearance since then in 2023. Pittsburgh is another team ASU needs to watch out for in the game. Appearances in the last 4 years making them consistent contender, Pittsburgh has shown they can control momentum on both sides of the ball all season, so if ASU faces them in the tournament, they will need to be prepared for a high-pressure match. Senior middle blocker Ryla Jones, and 2024 National Player of the Year, has held teams to an average of a .375 hitting percentage all season.
Certainly be interesting to see if the Panthers and Devils have a rematch come the tournament next month. Lexi, thanks so much for your analysis. We appreciate it.
Let's head over to the ice now as Sun Devil hockey was on the road against number 6 North Dakota. After a rough Friday night loss, the Sun Devils were trying to avoid the series sweep. Let's head straight to the first period now, where North Dakota got going immediately. Ben Strinden with a smooth goal makes ASU's goaltender Connor Hasley look silly, sliding it right into that 5-hole. In later on in the first period, ASU on the power play, and who else but Cullen Potter, ASU's first ever first-round NHL draft pick, and that's former Sun Devil goaltender Gibson Homer. You think there are any hard feelings there? I don't know, but ASU's current goaltender Hasley with a great save right there in the first period to keep it 1-1. He'd end up having 39 saves on the night. Second period now, ASU trying to take the lead, and the Arizona native Logan Morrill with the perfect cut gets his first collegiate goal. Remember Gibson Homer? Starting to think there might be some hard feelings with that stare down there. ASU, still second period, trying to tack another one on before the third, and Sean McGurn on one knee shoots and scores. ASU is leading 3-1 against the number 6 team in the country. Third period, North Dakota not going down without a fight. It's Ben Strinden again, slides that one top deck for his second of the night. He was named NCHC Forward of the Week for his 3-goal weekend, but it would not be enough for North Dakota. Bennett Shimmick, empty netter, icing on the cake on the ice for the Sun Devils. They win 4-2 for their first ranked win of the season.
Now, over the last couple of weeks here on CSL, our reporters have broken down the gauntlet that Sun Devil hockey is facing in the next few weeks and how it will ultimately define their season. But the bright spots shown last weekend in Grand Forks may make Greg Powers' staff feeling much more optimistic, both with a contract extension and about their prospects in the immediate future. For more on where exactly the men on the ice have improved, here's our Colgan Herschel and Jacob Fredericks. Gentlemen?
Yeah, Max, the Sun Devils showed signs of improvement in their split against number 6 North Dakota last weekend. Coach Powers has talked about getting to high-danger scoring areas as one of those places for improvement, and Jacob, the Sun Devils took a step towards that in Grand Forks.
Yeah, Colgan, and you're going to see right here, so they're going to try to play a stretch pass to Sam Alfano. It's going to get missed. Alfano's going to do a good job to outwork the North Dakota defender on the forecheck here, but right there you're going to see him turn his head. He knows exactly where his next pass is when he gets that puck. He's going to see Logan Morrill and Noah Powell both trailing behind the play, getting into a good spot. So you're going to see the head turn there. Morrell's going to get net front in that high-danger scoring area. Powell's going to do a good job just pulling that North Dakota defender just enough to open up that passing lane to Alfano, to Morrill, and Morrell's going to shoot, and he's going to score and give Arizona State their first lead of the series. Greg Powers has talked about needing to get in those high-danger scoring areas and getting a greasy goal, and that is exactly what they did right there.
Yeah, and it wasn't even the only time this past weekend that the Sun Devils were able to do that. Back in Game 1, they had a similar opportunity in the offensive zone on the power play, as you see right here. It's a 1-3-1 forecheck, 1-3-1 formation. Cullen Potter as the bumper. Bennett Shimmick is up at the point as the quarterback. Right here, Abraham Weeb is in the right position, guarding the passing lane to Cullen Potter. But as it shifts, Abraham Weeb's stick is now guarding the Cruz Lucius passing lane, and that opens it up for Cullen Potter and Bennett Shimmick to connect on a pass. Potter then moves himself towards the middle, and now he has 3 options. He can either shoot, pass it to Smolin down low, or Beck across the ice. He elects to walk towards the middle, fake the pass to Beck, down low to Smolin. He walks to the wide open space, takes advantage of those high danger scoring opportunities, and the Sun Devils grab their first goal of the weekend, their first of 2 power play goals on the weekend, which would improve to 4 of 11, 36% in their last 4 games. And now, Jacob, we're going to take a look at playing a little bit of defense in the offensive zone, playing defense by playing offense that the Sun Devils did.
Yeah, Coach Powers talked about all season long, defending in the offensive zone, establishing that forecheck. And you're going to see right here, North Dakota's going to try and clear the puck. Joel Shelberg's going to do a great job keeping the puck in the zone. You're going to see him and Brazen Bozer take a little bit of a step back, give themselves more space to break that first layer there. Shimmick with a quick pass over to Lucius, and you're going to see Sean McGurn right here getting in that high danger zone that we talked about, and Lucius with a no-look pass, and McGurn finishes it off to give the Sun Devils a 3-1 lead in a game that they would eventually go on to win. So it really all starts with establishing that forecheck and defending in the offensive zone, and it leads to goals like that.
Yeah, and Arizona State would give up another goal. It would be 3-2 heading into the third period, final 2 minutes, and Cullen Potter would take a penalty in the final 2 minutes. You just can't do that if you're the Sun Devils against the number 6 team in the nation. So North Dakota would have a power play with under 2. Right here, you see on the penalty kill, 3 across the line, trapping North Dakota in the zone. Bennett Shimmick is going to go towards the puck, so North Dakota just has to dump it in. And then Arizona State gets right on the puck. 2 men on the puck immediately, and now Ben Strinden has nowhere to go. Ollie Josephson, who's on the wall, is guarding the passing lane up to the top of the point, but he's supposed to be on Bennett Shimmick, and that's exactly where the puck goes. Right to Bennett Shimmick. He buries it in the 6x4. Arizona State wins this game 4-2 in the sweep. Pressure, the forecheck, and getting to those high-danger scoring opportunities is why Arizona State has seen so many improvements in the last handful of games. Now it's up to the Sun Devils to put it all together for a full 60 minutes. Max?
Now, it wouldn't take an expert to tell you this weekend's home series against number 3 ranked Denver is a crucial one for the Sun Devils, as their season is hanging in the balance with a 4-7-1 record. This isn't a unique situation for Greg Powers and company, though, as this stage is eerily similar to one that the Sun Devils performed quite well on against the Pioneers this time last year. Our Alexander Martinez has more.
Last season, Arizona State hockey started its season with a record of 4-7-1 and went on the road to number 1 Denver, where the Sun Devils handed the number 1 Pioneers their first 2 losses of the entire season, snapping a 21-game win streak. This resulted in a complete flip of the Sun Devils season, as they won 10 of their next 12 games, finished 21-14-2, and eventually made it to the NCHC Frozen Faceoff, where that same Denver team ended their season. Right now, ASU sits at the same record, 4-7-1, and the opponent on the schedule is none other than number 3 Denver. The difference is this series will be in Tempe, where ASU will look to start to flip its season around just like last year, but in front of the home crowd at Mullet Arena. The Sun Devils defense will have to step up this year, as they are allowing 3.58 goals per game, which is tied for the 11th most allowed in the NCAA and almost a whole goal more than last year's start to the season, where they allowed just 2.66 goals per game, while Denver's high-flying offense is averaging 3.67 goals per game, putting them 9th in the NCAA. With ASU's slow start to this season, this series is pivotal for the Sun Devils if they want to turn their losing record around. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Alexander Martinez.
Thanks so much, Alex. And back on the hardwood, stop me if you think I'm dreaming. Sun Devil women's basketball has played 4 games, is 4-0, and has won 3 of those 4 by at least 14 points. Now yes, the competition hasn't been up to par yet. Still, considering where this program has been recently, Molly Millers has certainly shown way more positives than negatives in the early going. So it's only fitting that we assemble a team of reporters to break it all down, starting with our Brady Foxwell.
Thanks, Max. It's said that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. But Saturday's game will be played in Sun Devil territory, and UNLV is yet to win on the road. The Rebels won its first 2 against Washington State and DePaul, but after leading number 7 Baylor in the 4th, ultimately lost following a 19-5 run in favor of the Bears. Against Montana State on Tuesday, UNLV turned the ball over 24 times, resulting in another loss. With 3 days rest, the Rebels take the 93 South to Tempe, looking to get back in the win column against an unproven ASU squad. And although UNLV only shoots 39% from the field, they lead the Mountain West in both offensive rebounds and second chance points. UNLV is also pretty strong from the free throw line, shooting 77%. This could very well be a trap game for ASU, and as UNLV showed against Baylor, they can compete with the top teams on any given day.
Thanks so much, Brady. And while the Sun Devils matchup with the Lady Rebels on Saturday could have some sneaky interest for many, Molly Miller's squad showed signs of promise in this season's second week by their major improvements on the offensive end of the floor, both at San Diego and at Santa Clara. And for more on how those drastic improvements happened, here's our Julian Corey.
Thanks, Max. Arizona State women's basketball definitely had its struggles offensively to begin the season, producing points from inside the arc at an efficient enough level to secure 2 wins, but the shooting from 3 was a completely different story. Pick and rolls, screens, and designated handoffs are the name of the game for ASU, especially when they were working through an 18% three-point percentage to begin the year. But this past Thursday against the University of San Diego, they flipped the script completely. With bucket getters like Molly Washington and Gabby Elliott, combined with the court vision of a guard like Amaya Williams, it was really only a matter of time until the Sun Devils got hot from deep. Over their past 2 games, the Sun Devils shot a combined 48% from the 3-ball, defeating both USD and Santa Clara. This team has shown they can score from all 3 levels, and if they can maintain this level of play offensively and combine that with Molly Miller's high-pressure defense, the Sun Devils could be a way bigger force to be reckoned with in the Big 12. Max?
Appreciate your insight, Julian. But finally, as Brady mentioned earlier, UNLV is a team that has already given a team within the Big 12 problems this season. And while some of the numbers on the defensive end of the floor may not be in the Sun Devils' favor early on, there are apparent weaknesses that the Lady Rebels have that the Maroon and Gold could easily take advantage of on Saturday afternoon. But for a deeper dive on the matchup, here's our Josh Melby, live from Desert Financial Arena.
Well, when you look at how Arizona State women's basketball matches up against UNLV, the parallels are pretty crazy. Let's start by looking at Arizona State's defense. They take pride in it. However, they have the 13th worst opponent field goal percentage in the Big 12, and on top of that, they are second to last in the conference for opponent three-point percentage. Now, the first parallel is UNLV takes pride in their offense. However, it hasn't been great, as they are shooting 39% on the season, and even worse from three, shooting 27%. Now, let's take a look at the opposite end of the spectrum for both teams, starting with UNLV's defense. In UNLV's match against number 7 Baylor, 17 of the Bears' 24 shots came from inside the paint. If the paint points trend continues, it can give ASU an offensive notch, as they have UNLV transfer herself, McKenna Brackens, who is a paint beast. She has started her junior year with the Sun Devils averaging 13.5 points, 7 rebounds, and 2.8 assists per game. Bracken started her college career playing her freshman and sophomore season at UNLV, and she'll want to impress her former team. It's destined to be a good one tomorrow, as the Phoenix Mayor herself, Kate Gallego, will be in the house, and the Sun Devils have a chance to start the season off 5-0. Women's basketball action between the UNLV Rebels and the Arizona State Sun Devils tips off tomorrow, right here at Desert Financial Arena, come 2 p.m.
Sun Devil wrestler Caleb Larkin had a busy summer before coming to ASU, making a competitive splash in the Olympic national trials before eventually falling to Yanni Diakomahalis, which, as you can see on screen, is a very respectable loss. Now in the maroon and gold, him and his brother Kyler Larkin have a legacy to uphold, as their dad Eric Larkin was a Sun Devil wrestling legend as a 4-time All-American and a national champion. Caleb has been getting busy to kick off his sophomore season as he pulled off an unranked upset over the number 2 ranked 149-pounder Lachlan McNeil to take over McNeil's number 2 spot at the national duels. Caleb obviously has champion-sized shoes to fill from his father, but it's safe to say that he's putting the Larkin name back on the map in the collegiate wrestling world.
Now, moving from the mat to the course, Sun Devil men's golf has been making some integral moves in recent weeks, as Coach Matt Thurman continues to establish to the rest of the nation why his program has become both a powerhouse on the course and in the recruiting scene. To elaborate further, here's our Easton Stockford.
Since the start of the 21st century, ASU men's golf has cast its scouting spotlight worldwide and has continuously uncovered gems in every time zone. Currently, international talents like Norway's Michael Miasith and Thailand's FIFA Lau Podki are setting Tempe ablaze. But even rewinding time, Spanish standouts like Jose Le Ballester and John Rahm have soared to incredible heights following the move across the Atlantic. In 2024, Ballester became the first Spaniard ever to win the U.S. Amateur and is making the move to live golf in 2026. And following Rahm's stint at ASU from 2012 to 2016,
it's all about John Rahm. Masters champion, John Rahm.
He's been doing just fine. Glimpsing into the future, Matt Thurman's 3 latest recruits also follow similar trends. South Africa's top-ranked player Brian Newman and Spain's 3-time national rankings champion Raul Gomez Montalva are set to join the team in January. But Thurman's biggest score might be the French phenom, Oscar Couliot. The 17-year-old is already ranked 66th in the World Amateur Golf Rankings and is set to join the Sun Devils in the fall of 2026, as ASU's global talents are poised to push the needle further than ever before. For Cronkite Sports, I'm Easton Stockford.
You know, ever so often, a program or university finds itself standing at a crossroads. Not because it's lost its way, but because the landscape around it has shifted. And right now, that's Arizona State. Its current situation with all of its leaders across multiple sports who are already making names for themselves. In the grand scheme of college sports, ASU has always been labeled as a sleeping giant. The size, the location, the incredible weather, it's all built for success. The school sits in a top 10 media market, in a recruiting hotbed with fans who've been through enough ups and downs to fill a highlight reel and, frankly, a therapy session. But as the saying goes, potential only gets you so far. In an era of realignment, NIL, the transfer portal, and seismic coaching changes, ASU's challenge isn't catching up, it's catching on. This isn't about survival anymore. It's about relevance. Kenny Dillingham's Wolf of Wall Street-like statement on Saturday of "I'm not leaving" proves that Graham Rossini and Dr. Michael Crow have the resources to be a perennial power, not just in football, but across the university. This includes preserving other coaches who are accomplishing great things, like J.J. Van Niel, Herbie Bem, and Matt Thurman, just to name a few. And hey, who knows? Maybe Molly Miller eventually enters herself into this very conversation, but it's very too early to say that. To truly belong in the next chapter of college athletics, ASU has to move from promise to presence. No more next year, no more almost. Although ASU may not have the tradition of a so-called SEC powerhouse who might make similar statements, now is the time for results, the time for relevance, the time for the Sun Devils to step fully into the modern age of college sports and claim a spot that's been waiting for the Devils for decades. But here's the truth. ASU isn't just some regional brand, but it could be a flagship of the next frontier in college athletics, if it wants to be. And the rest of the country, they might not see it yet. But when that fluorescent pitchfork flashes under the lights, when programs across campus start winning the big ones, they will. And that's the way it is.
Time now for some top plays. Let's take it back to the ice with ASU hockey's upset over number 6 North Dakota and the Arizona native Logan Morrill. Perfectly timed cut, perfectly executed shot. First collegiate goal right there, Zippy.
It absolutely was. And at number 4, we head back to DFA where a Masamba Jop makes a massive stop on one end of the floor, leading to a modem 3 to extend the lead on Jake's Georgia State, which would set up the victory last night in Hawaii.
Yeah, Zippy, we're staying on the hardwood for number 3. Anthony Pig Johnson pokes it loose and throws it down. He had 13 second-half points for ASU off the bench to ignite a 20-1 second-half run.
It was a massive run for ASU, Jacob. And on to number 2, the fake PAT heard around the valley. Cameron Holpearl wide open in the back left corner of the end zone. Who knew Jesus Gomez had such an incredible arm? And how about that play calling from second-game coordinator Jack Nuda?
And Zippy, no other play could have been number 1. We're staying with football. Keith Abney sealing the game with that interception. ASU gets the win 25-23. Abney has been playing at an all-conference level so far this season. Like you said in the outset of this episode, Zippy, this is our second time together on the desk in the last 3 weeks, but also it's the last time that you'll ever be on this desk. You've put a lot into this club over your 4 years here. We all appreciate it, and our production team cooked up something for your last time on the desk.
Oh, man.
Thanks so much, Grace. I'm coming back live outside Farrington Stadium, and let's talk about this UCLA pitching staff. They have been dominant this season.
Thanks, Jonah. Marta Levinska is not the only historic wave washing over this Arizona State volleyball squad, as the 14-0 Sun Devils are not only...
What can you tell us about this matchup with Stanford?
Thanks so much, Sammy. I'm coming back outside live from Club Farrington, and let's just talk about this matchup, because the truth is that softball is so much more than...
Wow, that was really incredible. You know, Jacob, I've obviously, been very fortunate, and everyone in this club knows that I've been incredibly fortunate to be in this position and in this seat now. I had the incredible privilege to start anchoring in March of 2024 alongside our great friend Ben Paris, who is obviously doing great things with TNT Sports right now. But I want to thank seriously everyone who has made this incredible journey possible, every single club president who's been here, Sammy Miller, Jake Seymour, Blake Neiman, basically having the same executive producer for my entire 2 years here, the incredible Ronan Haycoop, who's also stepping down after this season. It's not just my final episode, of course. Justin Lacertosa and Ryan Myers have their final episode in 2 weeks, but to have these final 2 shows with you, Jacob, it's been an incredible honor, incredible blessing, and I know you, being the new director of video, I know you're going to lead this club and do so many incredible things, as well as our new future president, Gabby Chernoff, will do the same for this incredible club. So, for our executive producer, Ratisha Thacker, for our director, Jason Teeter, and Ronan Haycoop, and once again for Jacob Brooks, my name is Max Cepeda, signing off for the final time on Cronkite Sports Live. We'll see you in 2 weeks, for the final episode of Season 23. Have a great night, and God bless.